I did. I know I did.
Okay, we're good. We're on YouTube. Okay, good morning. I'd like to start the meeting off. Welcome to today's Wednesday, January the 13th, 2021 General Finance Committee meeting. Welcome all. I'd like to read a couple of things to you just to let you know that we've started the meeting at 9:02 a.m. This electronic meeting is being held in accordance with Section 238 of the Municipal Act 2001 due to the COVID-19 pandemic. All members are present. I do confirm quorum at this time. Confirm that there are no members absent. The CAO, the clerk, and members of our senior management team and staff are present. The public input was invited for this agenda to our email address, tmlpubliccomment@muskokalakes.ca, and there were none. Two things on voting. Motions. The motions have been pre-populated with random movers and seconders to expedite this meeting. And in terms of voting, members shall physically raise their hand until the chair has confirmed the vote. If the vote is unclear, a verbal vote shall be recorded by the clerk. This is not considered a recorded vote. We have no supplementary agenda today. And I would ask at this time if there are any disclosures of pecuniary interest. Seeing none, we'll move on. I just want you to know we have one resolution today, and that is to adjourn. So that's the meeting. Cathy, we're going to call on Cathy Duck, the CEO, the Chief Librarian of the Muskoka Lakes Library, to give us an update. I do know that on my agenda, Valerie Duke is referenced as well. I don't know if Valerie's part of this, but if she is, certainly welcome.
She's parked awaiting admission.
Okay, we're going to let her in.
I have let her in. It's taking a little bit there.
Okay, there you go. So they're here? She's here? Okay, we have the presentation up. So Cathy and Val, when you're comfortable, please proceed. Go ahead. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'll just say good morning and thank you for giving us this opportunity today while we're waiting for Val. Val will be doing our presentation today, and Val and myself will be available for questions after the presentation. So, Val, are you there?
I am here. I just got let in. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Okay. I'm not sure. I'll just start right in. Just thank you, Councillor Zavitz, and thank you to Council for allowing us to present to you today. Just a brief introduction of myself. My name is Valerie Duke, and I am the current board chair of the Muskoka Lakes Public Library. And today we're just presenting a brief look into our past year, 2020, at the Muskoka Lakes Public Library and where we see ourselves in 2021. And if we can just go right to the next slide, we'll just jump in. I know you've got an agenda full of things. So along with myself, I sit on the board with 5 other very dedicated volunteers, and I just thought I would introduce them to you and take this opportunity. We have our vice chair, which is Heidi Berninger, and we've got Marg Butto and Barb Bridgman, Councillor Barb Bridgman and Councillor Donelda Hayes, which I'm sure you're all very familiar with. And of course, Kim Curd and myself. And we are like yourselves that we're entering the third year of our term. And over the past 2 years, the board has shared a very good mutual respect with one another. We've had a collaborative effort on planning and policies. And we've also all share a vision for the future of the library, which I think is really important. And we're certainly all looking forward to sitting on the board for the next 2 years and serving the board. Next slide, please. Now, with this being said, we just wanted to highlight our community partners because we really feel that the success of the Muskoka Lakes Public Library is rooted in the generosity and commitment of our community partners. With one One of the top being our staff. The staff literally goes above and beyond every day with every task they take on. And this past year is really a prime example of that. I think also the community of our library users is another community partner that is so important. The people that actually come out and participate in our programs and our services. And this is what we're here to do, is we're here to serve the community. The other community partner that needs mentioning is all of our many friends and supporters. We work collaboratively with so many of them, and they're so generous with their time and their support. Some of them are the Lions Club, the Communities in Bloom, and the gardeners that come out and they make our beautiful library so beautiful every spring, summer, and fall. The friends of the library that are always taking on tasks of fundraising for us, helping us beautify our library in various ways. The spinning reels as well always steps up and helps with the collection in our library. So that's just to name a few, but we have so many that come out and support us. Also, I think we also need to acknowledge the Township of Muskoka Lakes and the council. The community is like the library is a community hub primarily due to your ongoing guidance and support. And I think I speak for everyone that having the combined resources of the township this past year, especially through this pandemic, has made the path a much easier path to navigate through. It would certainly be a lot harder alone. So we would really like to thank the Township of Muskoka Lakes and the council for that. So thank you. Next slide, please. Hopefully everybody can hear me okay. I can't see anybody, so this was all out in your package, so I'm sure you've all had a chance to take a look at it. So I'm not going to go through it in too much detail, but 2020 year in review, obviously everybody has had a tough year throughout this pandemic. We started off the year very optimistic. We had a fresh new logo to release, new cards to print out with our new logo that, again, going back to community partners, was designed by one of our friends of the library. So we wanted to acknowledge that. We had a 2020 reading challenge that kicked off in January, and all the programs that were running, the Mahjong and the knitting and the coffee time, and all these groups were using the library, and it seemed like a great year to start out with. Of course, COVID hit in March and we had to close our doors. But I have to really say that Cathy and her staff did not miss a beat. They were immediately involved in all of the COVID protocols. We were certainly compliant in everything. By the end of March, there was a YouTube channel already up engaging the community on different activities of crafts and learning utilities. We were able to get the online registration for library cards because people that were at home and sheltering at home found themselves looking for things to do. And obviously the library was a great place to start with books. Everybody wanted to learn a new language, read books, take some time at home. And the library didn't miss a beat on any of that. They really stayed engaged with the community. By May, we were actually able to offer outdoor pickup, which was amazing because, again, it just opened up another channel of engagement with the community. And I think everybody really supported that. It was contactless pickup. It was very easy. They could phone in or order online to pick up their books and movies, which are our top things. That people love the movies that we have, and they certainly love the books. All throughout the summer, the library was busy with interactive story walks. We had families were able to go to the Bala Sports Park and to Hannah Park in Port Carling and walk with their families outside and read a page of a story one by one together as a family, which was amazing. We had an online auction in August. And another thing that we took on throughout the year was the board had to revise, or we didn't have to, but our strategic plan was in need of revising. And we took that on and started doing monthly meetings and getting that going. So we actually released 2 surveys in 2020. One was an internal survey, which council participated in. Sorry, what's that? Council participated in, and we also released a community needs survey just to, again, further engage the community and find out how we're doing and what services they would like to see in the future, especially during COVID, during this stressful time, of how we could serve them better. So again, lots was on the go. We had a lot on the go in 2020, and the library was still busy. We had some staff working from home if needed, But for the most part, the staff were able to socially distance themselves inside the library and continue with their great work. By November 3rd, we were able to reopen our doors for people to browse the collection, which was great. And a lot of people were very happy to see that come back. And unfortunately, back again, we're back to contactless pickup and outdoor pickup. But again, the staff of the library continues to stay engaged with the community through various social media channels, through email newsletters, through bookmarks and correspondence going home to them for their outdoor pickup. So again, it's just a way that the community and the library stays connected, which I think is so very important. Next slide, please. Perfect. Just going back to the strategic plan, we had opted to revise our strategic plan this year, and part of the information gathering was to release these surveys. So this slide just represents some of the feedback we got from the survey. The internal survey that we ran, which included the staff, the board, the Friends of the Library, and Council, had an 86% response rate, which is amazing for any survey. I'm sure everybody knows that if you get anything over, 20 to 30%, it's just amazing. So I think having all of their feedback come in was just a real reflection of how committed everyone is to the success of the library. And so that was great to see. We released the community needs survey in July in hopes that we would get seasonal residents as well as permanent residents feedback and their user comments, which is great because we got approximately a 50-50% split for seasonal and permanent residents, which was great. The word cloud on the right-hand side was just some of the feedback and some of the comments that we received in both surveys. And it was a lot of it came back to the staff, terrific staff, how essential we are in the community, that we're a community hub, that it's free Wi-Fi was some of the comments, that how fabulous and welcoming and friendly the environment is. So amazing feedback from all of our users who seem very appreciative that we're also checking in with them and running this survey. We had 3 times participation of the community needs survey, which is amazing. And again, going back to our community partners, we have to thank the township. We were able to have an insert inside the mayor's letter advising people of the survey. We had social media through the staff help to advertise this survey. We had notices in the post office, notices going home with books. So again, Councillor Hayes and Councillor Bridgman also put it in their newsletters that the survey was online and available. So again, we rely on our community partners, and they always help and guide and support us. So we thank them. Next slide, please. So having gathered all of this information throughout the surveys and with our committee through the board for our strategic planning, we developed a strategic plan for the years 2021 through to 2024. And again, this is just a snapshot of our summary. The full strategic plan was coincidentally just adopted and approved by the board in yesterday's January board meeting. So the full version of our strategic plan will be online on the library's website if you're interested in reviewing the entire thing. But this just gives us a snapshot of where we're looking, what our vision, what our mission is, and our upcoming goals. So again, many libraries I know have opted to postpone their strategic planning during COVID, but we really felt like it was a good challenge for us and a good opportunity to really look at how we deliver our services to all of our residents and how important that is no matter what the times are, because we don't know, to be honest, and no one knows how long this COVID situation will be here. So we actually worked with sort of the 3 E's, and in our mission statement, it basically says that we're committed to evolving in this ever-changing environment to enrich the lives of our members and to engage with the residents of our community. And I think it just needs to be said, we just have to figure out as a library and a board, we may need to get creative on how we deliver those services, but we're committed to reaching all of our residents and delivering them the best way we know how. Next slide, please. So this is just our last slide, and it's just really just detailing some of the things we're looking forward to, some of our projects that are underway for 2021. We are currently, Cathy and her staff are working on obtaining the library accreditation status, which is via the Ontario Public Libraries Accreditation Council. And that's something that they've been working hard on, standardizing policies, making sure things are standardized across the board. And it's been a big process, but I think, as Cathy will mention, that it should be coming through in 2021. So we're excited about that. We're going to have continued online author events for people online in the evenings of certain books. We have started initiatives about outreach. As we all know, there's a lot of people that are home and a lot more isolated right now. Cathy and her staff sent personalized Christmas cards out to people that they felt may need just some communication and a hello and a touch base with them, which we thought was really great. We also have take it and make it crafts. So as long as we're able to have outdoor pickup, and because we don't have programs available inside the library, Cathy and her staff have made up craft kits that people can pick up, take home, and do them from home, but also report back and share on social media their end result. And in the summer, they did a bee hotel and different projects that worked quite well. They're also looking to restarting a preschool online story time. I think it's going to be on Thursday mornings with Lorna McFarlane and Cathy McCarthy. So we're really looking forward to that. And of course, we've got capital improvement projects going on. We completed a full inventory of both branches last year. So the library continues to do things and keep busy inside. And we're certainly looking forward to 2021. And next slide, please. So once again, I would like to thank everyone for the opportunity to present to you today, and to thank you again for the ongoing guidance and support that the Township of Muskoka Lakes has provided our library over the years, and especially navigating through this very difficult time. This certainly concludes our presentation today. If you have any questions, Cathy is online as well as myself, and I'll turn it back over to Councillor Zavitz. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Excellent presentation. I'm going to ask before I have my comments, and I certainly do, because I think you did a wonderful, not only did you do a wonderful job today, but you continue to deliver on a lot of the things that you indicated. A lot of serious marketing going on at the library, and I want to acknowledge that. But first of all, I'll ask our committee for comments, observations, thoughts. Okay, seeing none, what I would like to just simply comment on, sorry, I'm not saying, wait, the hands are yellow today. Okay, I'm sorry, apologize. We'll just take them in order. So Councillor Edwards, please proceed.
I just like to comment on the library. They do an excellent job. It's just incredible. The only thing I would change now is with the seniors coffee program. Maybe you could take once a month since Tim Hortons closed. But other than that, you guys do a fantastic job, and it's just amazing for the community. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through you. And I just want to applaud you on your presentation, your organization, your enthusiasm. I spent 40 years in the corporate world, and that presentation had all the key points and was well organized, and hurrah, and thank you. You are such a valued, your message come across shows how valuable you are to the community. And to think that many are not getting enough pay. Some are not getting, most are getting none. So that's what I'm really pointing at. This volunteer, this is the backbone of our community, groups like the library. Thank you very much for everything you do.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Mazan.
It's hard to follow those two. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Val, and everybody on the committee. A very specific thing, I just wanted to say I loved the storyboards or the story walks. on Handy Park. And I think in conversation with Cathy, you guys are contemplating doing that again next year, but I thought that was innovative, and I happened to be out there walking quite a bit, and even my teenage son, I think it was the paper bag princess or something, but it was funny because we were walking the dog and we were walking around and we were talking about the story, and I thought, as I watched the father and all of his little kids, it was just a really creative approach, and I just wanted to say thanks for actually taking the time to do that. You didn't need to, and you did, so thanks.
Cool. Thank you, Councillor Mazan. Mayor Harding.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Through you to Val and I guess Cathy, both thank you. One thing I love is that your strat plan also lines up with our strat plan and bridges terms of council, which I think is an excellent opportunity for everybody. Two questions. One of them is the new accreditation that you guys are seeking. Is that going to provide some additional funding potentially? Is there anything that's going to added benefit? I love accreditation, but is there a monetary benefit potentially from that? And then also just how do you integrate or interact with the other library boards across the district? Is there sharing of information? Is there some help support that goes on that way, or are we just totally autonomous?
Cathy, do you want to take that?
Yes. So to answer the first question about the accreditation, the accreditation shows to the community that we have reached a certain level, standard level of service that is to be expected with the library. So it's kind of a feather in our cap at this point. There has been information, in the background that we have heard that the public library grants might increase for those libraries that are accredited, but that is nothing that hasn't been firmed up at this point. It's just a rumor that we've heard. It's mainly just to signal to the community that we meet a certain standard of service. Sorry, excuse me. And sorry, the second question was about the partnerships with the Muskoka Libraries. And we do have partnerships. I meet with the area libraries for the district, including Georgian Bay, Huntsville, Gravenhurst, Bracebridge. And we just finished actually doing an online author event, Emma Donahue, that was in partnership with the library. So we constantly reach out to each other for help with policies and guidance. And so it's an ongoing process, the cooperation between the district libraries.
Good. Yeah, that's great. If I just a supplemental, potentially, Cathy, if there is rumor for funding from the province for accredited libraries, maybe we can help advocate on your behalf for that. And I think I'll look at our CIO writing down, but potentially in some of our Roma or AMO delegations at times, it might be an opportunity to say, hey, if we are, especially for smaller communities, accredited, and we arrange there that maybe there is some additional funding because of that accreditation, which helps everybody improve the standards. So thank you.
Thank you.
Good, thank you. Seeing no other hands, I would only comment that, here we are, we're at a business meeting. Is it ever refreshing when a division of your corporation presents a presentation like that? Makes one feel good. I wrote a couple of notes down here. Commitment, values the word connected. The survey was great. The community hub, the words that you use, it's even in your language. It's embedded in your language, and I think that's so fundamentally important. You've learned to pivot in 2020. It'll help you, as you move on into 2021 and beyond. That community hub equals spirit. I mean, you are a gathering place, emotionally, physically, less physically now, but you so stand up, even on social media. I'm a bit of a nut with it, and you've really amped up your social media presence, and I think that's so vitally important. It lets people know on an ongoing basis where your group is, where that entity is, where that service is. So, I can't say enough. Thank you very much. I know you're not going to have people reading tonight because the Leafs are playing, but other than that, tomorrow it's a new day. So thank you so much for that presentation. If there's any other comments, if not, I'll thank you very much and wish you both a wonderful day and a good year. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Okay, sure.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to move on the agenda to item 6A, which is a report from the clerk's assistant regarding 2020 original shore road allowance and original road allowance license agreements. We have a report for your information. Sorry? I did. Sorry, I've skipped a note, but that's fine. Terry, you're muted. Sorry, Ken, we'll get to you in a moment.
Sorry about that. The report before you is a summary of the 2020 land sales and license agreements. It's pretty straightforward. If anybody has any questions, I can answer them. The only real thing to point out is we did have a very large land sale of a very long strip of shore road on 3 Mile Lake. So it's the numbers are a little off compared to other years. And that money is allocated to our roads reserve. So I'm sure Ken is super happy with that. And if there's any other questions or comments, I'm here.
Good, thank you, Terry. Committee, I see no hands of any color up. Okay, I guess with that, we'll accept that report. Thank you.
Thank you.
For our information, appreciate it. We're going to go back to 5A. Don't want to go back. We always want to look forward, but Director of Public Works, Ken Becking, has an asset management progress report. So Ken, please proceed. You got the floor.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Cheryl, are you going to pop up? Okay, great. There we go. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wanted to bring council up to speed in terms of where we're at with this very important initiative. Next slide, please. Just wanted to advise you as to what we have accomplished in 2020, what we're proposing to do in 2021, and for the balance of the program. Next slide, please. So 2020 was what I would characterize as a building year. It was a year to put in place the infrastructure that we need in order to properly carry out this relatively new function for the township, and to start the process to develop the information bases that we require for fulfilling the function. In terms of what got accomplished, we did get the GIS database established, did the basic configuration of it. We acquired the necessary equipment that we require in order to collect data from the field and bring it into the database. One of the things that we didn't envisage completing this year was applying for a funding grant through FCM, and I'm pleased to report that we were successful, and we've received or will be receiving a grant in the amount of $50,000 to assist us with our preparation of our asset management infrastructure and plan, and to get out and get some data collected so that we can start working with it. Next slide, please. What we were striving to achieve was to understand what is it that we have, where is it, and what kind of shape is it in, because those are the three critical pieces of information that are required in order for us to establish an asset management plan to guide us as we move forward. I've outlined on this slide the primary asset classes or categories, and given an indication of where we we are at the present time with respect to what, where, and what condition is it in. I would suggest to you at this point that we are somewhere between 70 and 80% of the data collected based on a value of asset. And that is going to guide us as we move forward into 2021 and beyond. Next slide, please. So here are some screen captures in the next couple of slides. This happens to be of Hannah Park. And you can see the asset as an overall and the various components. So we know, again, what we have, where it is, and that information is being transferred into the system. Next slide, please. Here's the Gregory Cemetery Dock asset and some of the information attached to it. Next slide. The Rosso River Bridge. Next slide. Here's some of the sidewalk information and road information from the State Drive in Port Carling. Next slide. Community centers have all been picked up, and we've got some very good, solid information now on all of our community center infrastructure. Next slide. So where do we head from here? The objectives for the coming year are to complete the data collection and get the data loaded into the system. We want to complete all of our condition assessments for all of the infrastructure, so we know what kind of shape it's in, and what that will then drive a needs assessment as to where we need to go from here. We will be deploying the CityWorks software in the coming months, which will then give us the tools necessary to manipulate the information and turn the raw data into meaningful information for council to consider. And the other major initiative for the year is the completion of the core asset management plan, so that we are in compliance with Ontario Regulation 588.17, which is the legislation that compels the township to have an asset management plan. Next slide. The balance of the program 2022 will expand on the data collection. Some of our assets, such as our bridges and culverts, as an example, have to be updated every 2 years. Other assets, the requirement for updates is less frequent. We will refine our condition assessments and our needs assessments in 2022. And we will, having had a year's experience working with the various systems, we'll be looking to make some enhancements to it so as to better allow us to better advise council. 2023 is the next waypoint in terms of our legislative requirements, in that we have to have an asset management plan that will cover all assets owned by the corporation. And then 2024 is the last waypoint where we have all of our assets and levels of service included within it. So next slide. And that, Mr. Chairman, is the end of my presentation. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try and answer them.
Good, thank you. There are some questions. I'm going to go to committee member Barb Bridgman.
Thank you, Chair Zavitz. Thank you, Director Becking. That was a great presentation. I just have a couple of questions for you. Can you define basic and intermediate for me? I know in your condition rating, I was just trying to understand what that means in terms of your chart.
In asset management, there are 3 levels of sophistication, if you will: basic, intermediate, and advanced. Basic level of collection or assessment is a quantitative or a qualitative assessment of the condition of the asset, predominantly, and a limited breakdown of the asset components. Intermediate is obviously more advanced than basic, and where you get into the advanced level is a very rigorous, detailed breakdown of all the assets and their value, their condition, and their needs assessment. I would suggest that for the most part, an intermediate level understanding of where we are and what we're doing and where we're heading is probably sufficient for township's purposes. Just given the scope and scale of the assets that are under our jurisdiction. The possible exception to that might be some of our roads and structures. And we'll advance that at a later date.
Okay, could I do a supplementary here? So I guess an intermediate assessment is enough that you need to put into the new asset management program. Is that what I'm understanding from you then? It'll give us a cost analysis for that?
Yes, it will.
Okay, so could I do one more, Councillor Savitz? Thank you. In terms of council being able to see what the costs are for everything, and then I suspect have to make some decisions about whether we carry all of this or not. That looks to me like we're into 2023 by the time the program has been able to give us that. I'm just trying to get sort of a feel for that.
I would suggest, Mr. Chairman, that we'll be bringing forward information ongoingly. The core infrastructure will come forward to you this year. Okay. And I would point out that probably represents probably 70% of the value of the assets that are currently under township jurisdiction. I'm not proposing to wait until 2024 for you to start making decisions. I think it would be in everyone's interest that that be done progressively and ongoingly rather than holding everything to tail end.
Okay, thank you.
Good. I'm going to call on Councillor Jagowitz.
Thank you, Chair. Through you, to Director Becking. Ken, did I understand you correctly? I just picked up a copy of the capital budget yesterday. Would you say that this work has not had an influence on those numbers this year, or has it had one? And that was answered. I'm sorry.
It has, Mr. Chairman. Certainly, particularly as it relates to the roads and bridges.
Okay. Then the second part of my question is that I assume this is only on township assets. Do you know if the district of Muskoka has done the same for the district assets that are in our municipality? And if they have, do you have access to that?
The answer to the question, Mr. Chairman, is I don't know. I can say that we're all bound by the same piece of legislation, and I think I'm fairly safe in saying that the district is in many ways advanced compared to ourselves in terms of what they've done. I see the mayor nodding his head. Those are assumptions on my part. I would say if you want detailed information with respect to the district, you'd have to speak to them directly.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I may let the mayor speak there just now, perhaps speak to that. Thank you. Mayor Harding.
Thank you. And I think Director Becking is correct. I believe that the district is well on their way to their full asset management plan. I don't believe they're using the same software. I'm not sure what software they're using in particular, but I know that was our big change here to be able to manage that. My only comment on this, and I appreciate it, we really do need to understand our assets. But I think in our further work, when we talk about 2022, 2023, we really need to probably insert a point on this where we collectively, again, with our peers throughout Muskoka, lobby the government, because I think we are all going to be in an upside down situation. One of the things, and Director Becky, I think you'll know this better than anybody, in particular, because of our freeze thaw middle geography in the province, our roads get beat up more than anybody else. If you go further north, where they freeze for the winter and they stay frozen, it doesn't do as much damage. If you go further south where they're really not getting the freezing, it doesn't do as much damage. So we really need to start to look at, and I know councillors around the table have all talked about we need to be in the north, and we've asked that question. We got moved to the south of the middle zone. So it's not just saying, hey, push us over here for greater funding, but we really need to highlight with the province, and I think collectively our voices are better heard, the issues that we have in paying for this versus just, you know, having a 25% tax increase at the end of the day. So I just want to make sure that we don't forget about that, and we actually think about that as a step in this process to collectively lobby.
Good, thank you. And Councillor Hayes, you did have your hand up. You good?
I did, but my question has been answered.
Good, good. And does that answer your question as well, Councillor Jagowitz?
Sort of. I think I'll continue it offline. Thank you.
Good, good. Thank you. I guess as I would, my comment, and as there are no other hands, in terms of deploying resources, which is something we're all going to be speaking about in a few days as we look forward, I'm wondering, Director Becking, on the field collection data, I'm very interested in how you mobilized your troops, or what assets you employed to literally take that inventory. That's a daunting task.
It is. Basically, we have a fairly precise GPS unit. It's not the creme de la creme, but it's neither is it your cell phone. It gives us slightly better than meter accuracy, so we know where things are. We literally go around on 2 feet and locate and record the information from the field. One of the things, and it is a very labor-intensive, laborious task. One of the things that I will be recommending to council in the future, but I'll give you a little foreshadowing, is that we have to incorporate asset management into our basic administrative work programs, so that the information is collected ongoingly as we work on the assets over the course of the year, so that we don't have to go through these painful collection processes each and every year or every 2 years or whatever, but that the information through our normal business practices is collected ongoingly. So there's more efficient and more timely collection.
Because it does make me wonder. I mean, is this a summer student pairs go out with the truck and they do with the inventory, or do we actually have staff that have the time and or the dedicated focus to go out and do that? And I guess I wonder, how does that work for you?
We do have one dedicated resource in the department that is assigned to asset management functions in order to get us over this somewhat painful process. Excuse me. In order to get us through this initial phase. How we go about that into the future is a discussion for another day.
Okay, good. Thank you. I think it was a good discussion. I appreciate you bringing that forward. I appreciate you looking for funding. I appreciate that. I think that we all understand that the need for ongoing monetary enhancement is primary. And thank you for doing that. Thank you for your presentation. That being said, there is no other comments. I'm going to move on. Thank you, sir. Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. Our CAO has a comment.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Good morning, everybody. Based on council's comment or committee's comments this morning, I think it's safe to say staff understand council's interest in the capital program and the 10-year forecast, which is primarily why you're seeing the first sort of additional step in meetings to our budget process, and that will enable you to take a close look at the capital program. Also, the strategic plan sort of outlines some studies to take a look at a few of the capital components over the next little while. So to Councillor Bridgman's point, it will be sooner rather than later in terms of this look, as well as I think I asked Director Becking to include the presentation on asset management today so that you'll get a flavor of how we're going to use that to assist us with those other studies and sort of trying to get a better handle on this part of the municipality's function along with its related budget. So thanks for that, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. What an excellent segue to item 6. Thank you. You're going to think we set this up. I want to state as we move to, again, agenda item 6, which is corporate services, which encompasses finance, administration, and human resources. I want to speak to the budget process for just a moment. We're doing this very specifically this year in a slightly different format, as you will all recognize and acknowledge now. You will all be in receipt, or should be, or by this afternoon, someone in Ward A will be in receipt of their 2021 budget. You may have it in hard copy, you may have it electronically. Anyway, so as we get to Friday, the 15th, that will be a fulsome day of discussion on the capital piece to this, which some may say, well, why wouldn't we start with operating? I think because of some of the theories that with the resources we now enjoy as a township over the last year, having our finance department right up to 100%. They've had a busy fall, and they've worked over the holiday break to finance or to finalize budget materials. Again, the change in process is designed to enable us to take a closer look at our capital program, and we'll see that on Friday. The additional step will enable us to have a say on the reserve contribution in the operating budget and enable its completion for our review. I'd ask that you reserve your comments for Friday. I just want to make sure that that is A-okay with all of you. Seems to make sense, seems logical, and I guess we'll know on Friday how that feels. But to my mind, it makes perfect sense, and I beg your indulgence. Read it, and you have your comments ready, and look forward to a fulsome discussion on Friday as it relates to that. So seeing no commentary required, I'm going to move on to item 7. I'll acknowledge first the minutes of the Public Library Board meetings held on November 10th and the 27th. The minutes are included in your agenda package. We'll receive those under advisement, no problem. I would then at the same time create an opportunity for Parks and Trails, if there's any commentary to be had or any insights to be shared over the past month. I would invite you, Councillor or Chair Nishikawa, in that role to share that. If not, we'll just move on. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Well, we'll be having our Trails meeting for January at the end of the month. There is an update on the Torrance Barrens, as you all know from our last meeting, that a new committee has been established from the province, and that committee will be meeting also at the end of the month. Interesting, many of those people that are on the committee I worked with
25 years ago on establishing the Torrance Barrens. And I don't think the asks will be very much different than we've seen established that many years ago as well. So it'll be very interesting from that perspective. I should also say that Councillor Roberts has been hustling quite a bit, I will say, in establishing some more detailed protocols, for instance, that what we would like to bring forward for our parks and trails. I think most of you are probably tired of me always being the champion, I guess, of our parks and trails, but I will say that I think their importance has been huge in our township this past year, and I hope that others will see benefits for future growth in the coming years. As I said, I've been pretty big on realizing that other than, you know, your garbage and your roads, we could offer more to our residents, and if they are by, I should also say, we talked about volunteers earlier. All of our parks and trails were established by volunteer groups, and I don't want to forget that. And so moving forward, I hope that we can create more trails as well. Thanks.
Good, thank you very much. It's a good news stories there. Councillor Bridgman has a comment. I'm not sure if it's to speak to that or, anyway, go ahead, Councillor Bridgman.
Yep, thank you, Chair Zavitz. Just briefly to thank Councillor Nishikawa and that group that established these trails. I just wanted to publicly acknowledge, and I had sent a note to Ken. I was on many of the trails over Christmas, which are now being maintained, and they are wonderful. And I ran into people who were so thankful that they're now being maintained. And I just think that that's good feedback for all of us. And to Councillor Nishikawa's comment, it's an asset that we really can promote more and more. They're absolutely beautiful. So I just wanted that on record. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. It certainly is a strength to have a resource like that, such a natural one as well. So yes, good. It's, again, as I said earlier, it's a good news story. Thank you, Councilor Nishikawa, for your comments. And thank you, Mr. Roberts, for weighing in there, hustling. I'm going to move to item 8. I don't believe we have anything on the agenda today. Economic development, there was no meeting. And oh, sorry, I'm sorry. Councilor Mazan has a comment. I do apologize. That yellow hand.
Great, thank you. That's okay. Thank you, Chair Zavitz, and through you. Simply reinforcing the message that I, like Councillor Bridgman, have been out probably on these trails more in the last couple of weeks than I have in the last year. And they're beautiful. They're beautiful in the winter. They look different, they feel different, and it has been well used and traveled. And I just want to thank staff for 2 in particular, the extra road plowing or driveway clearing is being very well appreciated within the community, particularly in Milford Bay, but also at Hazelwood. And I think we are talking a bit about golf course, but that golf course is getting very well used. And throughout the holiday season, the level of positive feedback through the Facebook community, they were just so pleased and pleasantly surprised to see that golf course open up for hiking and for cross-country skiing, that I just wanted to share that with council, that sometimes we don't hear the good things, and it is very well received within the community. So thank you.
Excellent. Good. Thank you very much. So item 8, so there is no economic development commentary, as I would understand it, unless Councillor Kelly has any sort of commentary. I know we're meeting the end of the month and we'll be good to go.
I'll just throw 2 cents worth. I mean, it's mid-January, but obviously our attention has to turn to the retail season this summer. So we do have a meeting in, I think it's 2 weeks today or yesterday. We're going to focus on working with the chamber, and this is also a budget item, but working with the chamber to best promote retail and commerce in the township. And I'm trying to line up one of our local entrepreneurs to come in and help us better understand a bit of a needs analysis. What's missing here? What can the township do, or what can we work with them in order to make the opportunity here much easier for to realize on? And so that'll hopefully start in 2 weeks when we have our next meeting. Thank you.
Good, thank you very much. Excellent. Something to look forward to there. Item number 9, unfinished business. Is there anything? I have nothing on the agenda, so unless anyone has something to bring up, I'm not seeing any. Item 10, under the new business category A, District Municipality of Muskoka updates. I just proceed with our 4 district reps, if you will. I'll call on Frank Jaglowitz first, if I could, in no particular order. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think the issues that I was involved with have already been discussed thoroughly and will be. So I don't really have anything to report in addition to that. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Nishikawa.
Like Frank said, no. So essentially, I think through the media, those have heard that there have been, there was one other additional outbreak. They call it an outbreak when there's one case in our long-term care home. However, that was resolved. And otherwise, the only thing I would say is that we, like always be aware that how great that staff is doing at that home. And we do have some other challenging things coming up concerning the acquisition of another long-term care home, but I'm going to put that on Councillor Jaglowitz to figure that one all out one day.
That's kind of a pass the buck, isn't it? Listen, I do want to say, as a Ward A councillor, I want to point this out, that I do certainly appreciate you, Councillor Nishikawa, in terms of, I guess, essentially my representative at the Ward A's representative at the district. You do an awesome job of sending me any notifications, any information, general, not confidential, of course, information that is general in nature, but does discuss, COVID or whatever updates. So I do appreciate you forwarding that on to myself. I know Councillor Hayes is on that link. I would certainly champion the others if they don't do it, and I don't know they do, to do that as well, to share that information with the rest of council. It's really helpful, gives us a good insight. So thank you for that. I'm going to call on our mayor, Phil Harding.
Thank you. We didn't have any public works meetings over the last 30 days, so nothing to report there. The only thing I will comment, for those who are interested or go to Bracebridge, they're still on a boil water advisory. It happened late Saturday evening where a water main broke. They noticed pressure dropping in the system, but unfortunately they could not find the break in the water main until early Sunday morning. By the time they found the break, all the pressure in the entire system had drained. And as such, they isolated it. It took some time to get the pressure back up, still not fully up. They had to finally replace the main that has been fixed, but they're still under a boil water advisory. They have to basically flush the entire water system. They did some preliminary sampling yesterday, and it came back with good water quality, no E. coli in the water, but the Ministry of Environment requires 2 positive or negative, I guess, samples, but 2 good drinking water samples before they would lift the boil water advisory. So it's anticipated right now that it'll be Thursday when that gets lifted. And in 1 minute, there's a meeting that I'm supposed to zoom into, but I can come in a few minutes late.
Okay, thank you. I see no commentary there. Alan Edwards, Councillor Edwards.
Yes, thank you very much. Actually, we had 2 meetings, and I'll look over the one was a community service recognition program, and they give out awards for actual achievements, and 5 were in the community services, which anybody in the program that really shows progress in that, they award them. They get a nice certificate, and they also get a gift certificate for $100 to spend where they would like. And they had 6 individuals were on the showed value through their and contributions and their volunteerism, and there was 6 awards handed out there. One of the awards was for a couple for all the hard work they've been doing in volunteering. So that was the one, and the community service was 5. So there was 11 all told. And then our community planning services meeting, we had Marty Wetzel, who was the chair of the Muskoka Watershed Advisory Group, and she gave an overview of what they are doing. And then we had an oral presentation from Bonnie Dart, and she is the chair of the Gravenhurst Against Poverty, and that's a community kitchen. They were meeting in the United Church there, and they have to do some work on their service. The district had a building, and that right downtown there was some space in, and what they were going to do was let them go in there, but they wanted to give notice for their lease on the building, and that these people take it over. And we were really concerned that they might not get it. So what we told them to do through the committee was to sublease it, which makes sense because it's the community and that using it anyway. And these people, they serve about 400 people in meals. So it's well needed. So we didn't want any interruption in that. So that's what we did. Then there was a planning report on the Muskoka Official Plan Amendment 50. That's the 2020 Lake System Health Update. And they are going to be sending that out to all the municipalities. So, just so you know, it will be coming. And we did have a report on blue-green algae, and it's funny because the one report said there was just a minute said there was 10 lakes. Of that, we had 5, and then there was another report that came in that said there was actually a total of 18 lakes, and there was a 10 in the Muskoka Lakes in that township. And you will hear maybe people say water quality is getting better, but it's this is getting alarming, some of these. And what else was there? There was some just condominium agreements, but nothing in the township at all. And if you'd like a rundown of the lakes there, have it. This one I have it here. Always near the bottom, unfortunately, but
I might say that 18 number is stunning. It almost makes me think water quality emergency. Not to be alarmist, but these are not experiential numbers. This is new. This is newer.
oh, and that. But I think most of us know where the lakes are, but I can look them
That's
up
fine.
if you like.
That's fine. And I think
Okay.
people are, that's fine. Thank you. And is that
Yeah.
your, okay, good. Very, very insightful report.
And that is my report. Thank you.
Good. Excellent. Thank you very much. You've created a couple of opportunities here. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, Chair Zavitz, and through you. No, these numbers to people that have been studying it for many, many, many years, this is not surprising that we have 18 lakes in trouble. It's sad that there was forewarning, and I don't know whether we'd ever stopped it, but we still just seem to be doing very little to get on to understand what is causing the threat and determining if we can do anything. So I'll get off my soapbox right now, but this is not a surprise.
Thank you. Councillor Edwards. Sorry. Councillor Edwards, you ever?
Yes, I do have the lakes here, just so that people know. It's Bass Lake, Black Lake, Brandy Lake, Bruce Lake, Clark's Pond, Lake Muskoka, Boyd Bay. That's a share between in that Bracebridge and us. And of course, West Miller Bay, Leonard Lake, Silver Lake, 3 Mile Lake. And it's surprising to know that they've, although 3 Mile Lake has the blue-green algae, they've taken off the phosphorus list, and that because it meets it, though it's still on as a blue-green algae lake, just so that you know. Thank you.
You know, and I might just provide a comment. It makes me wonder on, you mentioned Lake Muskoka, but it definitely was in Bala Bay. And it's funny, it's a correlation to the pumping station that was in that bay. It was right there. Is there a I wonder if Director Becking, well, I don't know who we'd have that could speak to that as a water expert, but I mean, is there, so Councilor Nishikawa shaking your head no, just a real coincidence, one supposes, but okay, we're not going to solve it here and today. I'm going to let Councilor Jaglowitz proceed, and then Councilor Mazan.
Possibly let Councilor Mazan go first, because mine is a couple of items that I should have mentioned. So I'll finish up with Councilor
Mazan.
Edwards.
Thank you, and through you, and directed, I guess, towards Councilor Edwards. You mentioned that you heard a report from Chair Marty Witzel. Could you give us a couple of highlights from that report, please?
It's a very long one. I would suggest anybody who's interested should just go on the district website. I forget how many pages it is, but it's very, very substantial. But what it is, some of that $5 million, it is actually going towards some of these studies.
Okay.
Sorry, as a supplemental there, was there, I will go in onto the district site. Was there a focus on water quality as well as quantity? Was flooding discussed at all?
It's flooding, water quality, just a minute now.
That's okay. That's okay. I'll go to the report. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, because it is very substantial.
Okay, thank you.
Very weighty topic, of course, huge. One we need to look at and stay on top of. Councilor Jaglowitz.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Actually, I did overlook a couple of items, and I will probably have a more detailed report next month because we're going to start our budget cycle there shortly. One of the items that did come up, there was a report from the Facilities and Support Services. The district has 98 vehicles, which are 58 of them are pickup trucks, and they're proposing to hire a person in the $125,000 range to decide when to trade those in. They're saying there may be some savings, but that item will be for the budget consideration. But the main item I really did want to talk about, and I should have raised, and I apologize, was the broadband update. There was a report that came to us from the group at the district. It was a spin-off of the COVID, I think, group, and they reported that. What that group appears to be doing is it doesn't look like it's applying for any funding, any federal or provincial funding, but it's coordinating with the service providers who are. And some of us, that was somewhat disappointing. There was then a discussion about how involved should the district get in this program? Should the internet be considered an essential service, and should the district get involved? And that elicited some comments. And they went kind of like this, and there was a map that was given to us, a colored map, and I can pass it on if you're interested. Blue means that it's fairly well serviced, and yellow and red means it's not. And of course, the 3 towns are all blue, and the townships are all the other colors. And the comment was that the cost to provide internet throughout the district, I believe the number was $292 million. And that raised some issues. And a lot of those costs, of course, would be in the townships because of their large area and spread out and lack of facilities. And I think I raised that, how are we going to encourage these service providers to provide service to the areas where they're not going to make any money? And that's going to be difficult. And again, that brought back a comment that maybe this isn't an appropriate thing for the district to do. Maybe it's up to the area municipalities. And I just wanted to bring that to your attention because I believe, and I have talked to the mayor about this, that possibly we should think about this and maybe we should be pushing the district to take this on as an essential service. And I know it's going to cost more to service the townships than the towns, but maybe we should take a stand on this. And that's just something for you to think about. Either that or, of course, if the district doesn't take an active role, which my feeling is I don't think they will, and therefore we may have to consider it. So I apologize for being lengthy on that, but I think it is an important subject.
Good, Councillor. Well, there's Councillor Bridgman, and I see Councillor Nishikawa has her hand up as well. Go ahead, Barb.
You want me to go first? Okay.
Sure, go ahead, Barb.
Yeah. Just to comment on Councillor Jaglowicz's comment, the Parry Sound and area is going ahead with a more cooperative approach than what the district appears to be going for. So I believe that we as the township will have an option. And I hear you, Councillor Jaglowicz. I think that we should not let this get off our radar, and we'll see what district does, but there would be nothing to stop us from, as a township, from joining forces with Parry Sound. And actually David Sword is on that committee. I'm on the outside of it. I get the reports and the quarterly meetings. So I guess what I want to say is I think we're on it as a township, and let's see where everything goes, and then we can make some decisions. But I agree with you. The private providers are never going to put in service in the middle of a rural area because it's going to be far too expensive. And the only way that would happen is if the district took it on full force as an essential service. So I'm following that, and I think as I said, I think as a township we won't let that drop off the radar.
Excellent, thank you. I might note that today internet looks wonderful and no one's frozen or we've had any problems on our Zoom meeting. I know that I spoke with Chair Val Kelly, or Val Duke, sorry. That's a faux pas. I can't take that back. That's funny. That when the survey was done for the library in the summer, my concern was how would that survey get to as many people as is that audience. And it was really surprising and pleasing to see the response rate that people that had internet. And I know that it's highly lacking, and certainly we should stay focused on that. So thank you for your comments. I agree totally. Okay, Councillor Jagwood, sorry, has his hand.
Yes, I just wanted to follow on Councillor Bridgman's comments, and that's encouraging to hear. But I did want to point out that the deadline for applying for this funding, I believe, is sometime in March. And so there is some urgency to this. If the district was going to get involved, or the township ourselves, or in cooperation with Parry Sound or with Seguin, is someone looking at that funding deadline and that we make the appropriate applications. And that was my concern at the district, that the district committee appears to be just watching the service providers applying for that funding, but not actually applying themselves. So I wonder, Councillor Bridgman, if you might just follow up on that, and is there someone that's thinking about getting into that funding stream? Thank you.
So I can answer that right now through you, Councillor Zavitz. Municipalities and governments can't apply for that grant money directly.
Then we might have to form some form of utility or something.
That's exactly what Parry Sound is looking at. They have a utility that they're part of. But so the only option for the district right now is through those providers, because they're the ones who can get the funding.
Right. Okay, CAO has a comment, and then I'll call on Councillor Mazan, and then we'll wrap this up.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. My understanding is that at present there's a gap analysis along with a strategy that's being undertaken by Blue Sky, and that's necessary information to inform an approach going forward. So once that baseline information is available, then I think we'll be able to Councillor Bridgman's point, sort of understand where we should go. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Mazan? And then Councilor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Oh, can you hear me? I feel like there's an echo. Am I okay?
You good?
Okay. You jinxed us, Chair Zavitz. I was going to say similar to what our CIO just did. I'm actually holding the report that Councillor Jagowitz has been bringing up and talking about, and it would seem that we're just in the process. They're trying to come up with a strategy that seems appropriate, and they've mapped out the different options, whether it's let the market operate on its own, advocate for action from other levels of government. So this task force, I think, is I would say on it. I do think as a township, and maybe it is through our Economic Development Committee, that we need to have a better understanding how we want it to look and feel like in the township of Muskoka Lakes. And I do think there's also a planning element that we need to consider and should be contemplated in their official plan. You know, if we're saying it's an essential service, are we going to have now 100 towers centered around a lake in order to make this happen? You know, these are the types of things that I think that that we will want to be thinking about and have a plan. But I do think broadband, and it is something that we really need to be focused on in our economic, and it's in our strategic plan. So thank you.
Good, thank you.
I'm just agreeing with what our CAO said.
That's fine. And certainly, as Councillor Bridgman is here, you know, perhaps to our chair, Economic Development, Peter Kelly, that we could in fact look at it in terms of the next Economic Development meeting. If you want to add that to the agenda, if that's an item, perhaps with Barb's additional insights, we could move that, kick that can a little bit. So thank you for that. Excellent. Councilor Nishikawa.
Thank you. Well, I was going to mention earlier on that I'm aware of 2 municipalities in particular that invested heavily financially in internet coverage in their municipality. And that was directly from, and even when Gravenhurst did their repaving of their roads or rebuilding of their main street, that was an important initiative that they brought forward to get that connectivity available to all the businesses. I would suggest that in the time that I've been on our municipal council, we have not invested or discussed internet connection and even tried to establish any sort of pooling of money of some sort. I hope that it does go that direction, but it is interesting because much along the line as Barb has been talking about the Parry Sound area, and I understand their governance structure is different in many ways, but and of course they're in the north. That always helps when you're in the north. But I will say though that I think going forward from a budget perspective, I think we should be looking at trying to establish some sort of funding in going in a reserve or whatever that would look like. But again, I have not seen that we've ever really done very much investment in that area.
Good, thank you. Perhaps that can be a topic on Friday as it relates to that. So not having any more commentary, there is no closed session in terms of community events updates. I don't know of any. Is anyone? There's a couple of hands going up there. Councillor Kelly.
Thank you, and through you, I think it's a community event update, but I want to get something into your brains for some thought. And basically, first, full disclosure, I'm a member of the Lions Club in Port Carling, and that's what I want to talk about. The work of the Lions Club in Port Carling is done on a microfinance scale, but I will tell you it's going full bore, and it has been through the pandemic. And I think the need is probably greater now than ever for the services of the Lions Club. The goal of the Lions Club is to, through very small deeds, but repeatedly and often, do small deeds to raise the money we need to help those who need help in the community. I will tell you right now, the bonanza of the pandemic is the fact that people are drinking considerably more at home because we're retrieving the empty beer bottles, wine bottles, and alcohol bottles from Everly Road. So I'm going to guess that's generating somewhere around $1,200–1,500 a month. The surprise is there is a reluctance, I think, in the community to reach out when help is needed. And so I'm raising it to you as members of your local community who have a finger on the pulse and probably have some sense of those in your neighborhood and in your region who might need help. Don't hesitate to reach out. We do have some resources available. We continue to pull $400 or $500 worth of beer bottles every week out of the snow. And by the way, we always have room for more help. If somebody wants to come down, we're there. We're meeting tonight as a club to put together a communication strategy to reach out to community members who might help us find the need. We're going to reach out to schools. We're going to reach out to churches. We're going to reach out to police officers who work in the region, council members, anybody in the community who might have their finger on the pulse, might identify the opportunity for us to help, and who can, we don't generally deal directly with people. We have food banks come to us and school teachers come to us, and we let them kind of vouch for the reality and the veracity of the need. We write the check and we move on and just keep doing our good work. So you're going to see more. We're going to have to up our game in terms of communication, both online and elsewhere. We're going to reach out into the community to make sure people realize we're here, because the big surprise, as much as we are generating probably more resources right now than we have at any point in the past, the demand isn't as high as we think it could be. So I mention it in hopes that maybe you can help us help others. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Thank you very much, of course. Councillor Roberts.
Thank you, and through you, Chair Zavitz. I want to talk about volunteers, specifically the volunteers in the Milford Bay community who have for 8 to 10 years performed a service for the township that we need to recognize. I'm talking about the Milford Bay Manor golf course. A gentleman named Bud Reed for years maintained that golf course, kept it in operation, or else our property that we've had for 8 and 10 years would be an overgrown of weeds and trees and such. And he has enabled us to have a great asset. The success of the Milford Bay winter activities at the Milford Manor was done in partnership by the township plowing the parking lot and putting up the odd sign. But the bulk of the work was done by the Milford Bay community, led by David Denstead, to get all the stakes up. They've done a beautiful job, roped it off. They have a groom, they go out there and groom it all the time. And David's helped with Brent Hillman, Chris Gallant, Rick Bath, and John Tumalcho, if I may have pronounced that, I probably pronounced that wrong. But without these individuals, we wouldn't have the snowshoe track and the cross-country track. So we've got to really, I want to shout out a really big thank you to these gentlemen and their families who have helped us brand our tourism and our recreations within the Milford Bay community. So thank you.
Excellent. That's great recognition. And certainly we need to do a good job of that. I'm not saying we need to do a better job. We just need to acknowledge that their volunteerism here where we live in the woods is an amazing, amazing facet of the neighborly piece here. So thank you very much for bringing that up. They are now on the public record and acknowledged as such. Are there any other comments from anyone? If not, I'm going to adjourn this meeting. I'm going to move at 10:25. Be it resolved that this meeting adjourn. 10:25 a.m. And the following General Finance Committee meetings will be held electronically from the Council Chambers, Municipal Office, Port Carling. The next regular meeting will be held on Wednesday, February the 10th, 2021 at 9 a.m. A special meeting will be held on Friday, January the 15th, 2021 at 9 a.m. Re the 2021 draft Township Capital Budget Introduction. And a special meeting will be held on Friday, January the 22nd, 2021 at 9 a.m. Re 2021 draft Township Operating Budget Introduction. Given that, I'll ask for a show of hands. All those in favor? Good, thank you. It's unanimous, carried. Thank you. We'll see you at 1 o'clock.
Susan, I sent you an email with the actual agenda on.
Thank you. I noticed that it actually didn't come through.